Welcome to We Are North Texas, a podcast produced by the University of North Texas System that shines the light on good work and good deeds by extraordinary people from the UNT System and its member institutions, the University of North Texas, UNT Dallas, and the University of North Texas Health Science Center. As the only university system based in and completely dedicated to the Dallas-Fort Worth region, we are North Texas. Welcome to the We Are North Texas podcast. I'm Paul Corliss, Chief Communications Officer for the UNT System, and with me today is Barbara Abercrombie, Vice Chancellor for Organizational Effectiveness and Chief Human Capital Officer for the UNT System. That's a mouthful. Barbara and I are working very closely together in our roles during this amazingly challenging time for everybody as we figure out how to overcome the coronavirus pandemic. Barbara, You've been leading HR organizations for some time in higher ed. Have you ever seen anything like this, or could you even have anticipated anything like what we're going through?
You know, Paul, I will tell you first, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about the well-being program and to really bring some great things to our campuses and to the system as a whole. But I will tell you, I've been in higher ed for almost 20 years and never have I seen anything like this. There's a group of us that meet every Tuesday evening to a group of HR people from across the nation, and we just get together and talk about the fact that this is unprecedented and trying to figure out how do we work through these issues that we've never really had to deal with before, and do it in a way that is thoughtful and helpful. But you know, I was thinking about the first time I ever had to deal with any kind of crisis in higher ed was actually Hurricane Katrina. And I was at a small regional institution in Oklahoma, and we moved dorms around so that we could bring people to Oklahoma that were misplaced. And as I thought through, you know, how we managed to do that and what all of the things that we did in order to make that happen, it's similar in having to make decisions on the fly and figuring things out as we're going through today. And in the last couple of weeks of trying to figure out how do we manage through this crisis and what can we do to help during this crisis. But I've never seen anything like it. It is just unprecedented. We're going to look back at this for years to come about you know, how we worked through it and what we did well and what we didn't do well.
Well, and this is probably an oversimplification I'm going to present to you, but I look at it like this from when I look at what you're going through from a work standpoint, you and your team, which is, you know, have been tireless as far as working through this, as have so many people at the system, my team included. You've got sort of the legal stuff that you've got to get figured out that's unprecedented, right? What leave is authorized, what leave isn't, how do you know when somebody's sick or getting tested or has to self-monitor or, you know, be away from working for a while. So you've got that whole operational piece, which is huge as a state entity. We have to have our legal house in order from an HR standpoint. But you've also got sort of the personal side of things that we're isolated from our teams. We're in situations where we may have kids at home and are working from home, and maybe we're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or depressed. I mean, it's how do you balance out that operational side of, you know, the X's and O's that have to be in place from a legal standpoint versus the human side of human resources?
Gosh, that's such a good question, Paul, because I will tell you that that's what we're all challenged with. And because because there are so many of these regulations that we have to really look at, and we have to understand the federal regulations that are coming out and changing, and new information every day that we're learning as we work through these bills. And your team and general counsel have all been so helpful to really be that partner with us to make sure that we're getting good information out about, you know, just the true nuts and bolts human resources, and making sure people know what leave codes to use, making sure they know what's available, making sure they know what to do in case, you know, someone in their household has become infected or affected by the pandemic, and how do we manage through those processes.
Right.
And that really is, that bare bones, good foundational HR. And then the flip side of that is, what are we doing to ensure that our faculty, staff, and students are supported emotionally, physically, that they really understand that there's a wealth of opportunities for them. There's a wealth of information out there, and how do we put it into a package that's helpful for them, and where it's easy to find, it's easy to get a hold of, it's easy to do. One of the big things that we've talked so much about lately is self-care. We're all at home, many of us with kids and animals, and trying to balance, working from home, homeschooling our kids, taking care of our animals who are wondering, why are we here all the time? and trying to manage
the one segment of the population that might be happy, right?
Yes, exactly. It's so true. I tell you, that's been one of the most fun things to come out of this, is all of the video meetings that we've been doing, is that we've gotten a chance to meet everyone's pets and everyone's kids. And so it's been a lot of fun to be able to sort of get a glimpse inside their home lives, which has been really fun. But it's also really stressful, because one of the things that I've noticed is that it's hard when you're sitting there on a meeting with your boss or your boss's boss, and your son comes up and says, "Mama, I need," or "Daddy, I need this," or "What about this?" And "Hey, let me," and they're trying to manage, how do I answer my child, and how do I take care of that at the same time? How do I ensure that I'm engaged in this meeting and that I'm working? And so we're trying to remind everyone that everybody just needs a little bit of grace through this time, that we got to give each other some grace and some space to really understand that there's no template for going through this at all. But one of the things that we do want to be able to provide is good, helpful information about some self-care, and answer some questions about the financial pieces. Right now, we have a lot of our employees whose spouse or partner, someone in their home, has either been laid off or furloughed. And, so having some of that financial information available to help them through that is just really, really important at this time.
Well, your answer there obviously sets the table for the conversation we plan to have today, which is about our new well-being program that was just recently launched in the green. UNT World Wellbeing is the name of the program. The website for the program is wellbeing.untsystem.edu. And just to give some background to our listeners, this was something that you and your team had been working on before coronavirus was on the radar, that resources for faculty and staff across UNT World and interpersonal, financial, and physical health. That program was already set to be pushed forward in March. Kind of took a step back as emergency communications and HR took the front for just a few weeks. But what led you to say we need to bring this program back to the forefront and make it live and take care of our employees?
Oh, I think all of us that have worked so diligently on this well-being program, and you're right, it's been in the works for quite some time, and to get to that place where you have to go, ooh, we've got to make this really hard decision about what are we going to do for a program that might seem really superfluous at this junction and where we are. And so we did decide to hold it, because there was so much important information that your team was helping get out and putting forward that was just more important than a well-being program. But after sort of those first couple of weeks where we found our feet after the shelter-in-place orders came out, and we kind of figured out what we were going to do with our employees and how we were going to manage that, it really struck me that now is the most important time for us to be rolling out a well-being program. Now more than ever, our employees need to have a comprehensive way that they can get support through our EAP services. They can get, they can't go, our employees, the only kind of physical activity that we can do is to go outside and walk around. And for some of our employees, it's allergy season. This is not a good thing for them to be doing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's tough.
providing classes online so that they can do a yoga class, they can, they can do all of these virtual types of physical activity on top of our EAP, that they can actually have counseling sessions, as well as, we have so many great vendors that are working with us to provide webinars to help with some of those financial questions that we were talking about earlier, and some of those things that they may need to be thinking about. And so after having a discussion with the Chancellor and talking about it with my team, we felt like that this really was the best time to go ahead and roll out the program. Having these 3 pillars available and having this kind of information in one stop where people can log in, their family members can take a look at what's out there. There was no better time than now to go ahead and get it done. And a huge thank you to our benefits team that's worked really hard to put together and had to really make some big, swift changes.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you about that. As you know, my team has worked closely with your team to launch this new website. Again, the URL is wellbeing.untsystem.edu. The website, initially, the calendar of events was populated with all these in-person sessions where if you were in Denton, maybe you'd go to a classroom and have a financial seminar with Fidelity or another partner of ours, right? And all of these events that were in person get wiped off the slate, and you have to go to virtual events in this current environment. That had to be a major undertaking, I would think.
It really was. And I, can't say enough great things about the benefits team and your team for really going, okay, we're going to have to move this around, and we're going to have to flip the switch on these face-to-face meetings aren't going to take place anymore. So having to rebuild that calendar from scratch, essentially going back to our vendors and saying, this face-to-face is not going to work. Let's figure out what will. And so big thank yous to our vendors, to the benefits team, and to your team for being so flexible during that time, because it really has been it's still a work in progress of figuring out new and creative ways to put information forward and to have meetings in a safe way, and in a way that is where people can get the information anytime, day or night, can click on and decide they want to take a class, can read through information, can do all of those things on the website. But it was a big undertaking, and it was essentially saying all the work that we've put in these last 4 months of building all these programs, we're going to have to stop doing that, and we're going to have to reframe, and we're going to have to do something else. And we just really put our heads together and said, we can still make this work. We can still do some really creative things, and we can still provide good services. We just have to think differently about how we're going to do that.
Right. And I was looking at the event calendar prior to our conversation on the Wellbeing website, and there's not just things related to mental health, which is something that we're all really aware of, particularly as supervisors, and when we want to check in on our team and make sure everybody's doing okay. But that you mentioned the financial stress of the situation, and we have sessions completely dedicated to help you understand the stock market and things to do to safeguard your retirement. And there's workout sessions and yoga sessions that are offered by the recreation center at UNT that are virtual now. I mean, it's really a wide offering of options that, as you mentioned, cover those 3 pillars of well-being.
Absolutely. And that's been kind of one of the fun things that came out was, the rec center at UNT, volunteered and said, hey, we're happy to put all of our stuff online. We're doing it anyway, so let's reach a broader audience. So what a fantastic partnership that came out that may never have come out except during this pandemic time. And like you talked about with the financial wellness, I saw a thing the other day from a financial planner that said, do not touch your face and do not touch your 401k. So
good advice.
Exactly. And so I think that, that's some of the great things that our vendors have been able to share is, what's really important to do right now. I mean, because to so many people, they start to panic and think, oh my goodness, what does this mean for me? But it's so important that you get online. There are resources available. Someone can kind of really step you through, hey, okay, this is what I need to be doing, and this is how I need to be thinking about this time.
Well, you know, whenever you launch a new initiative, I think one of the important things to help it grow and have longevity is to get buy-in from, you know, your consumer, which are our consumers of the well-being program are faculty and staff of UNT System and the member institutions, right? You know, we've pushed out with you, you know, a letter that announces the program. We've had some announcements on social media. We're even giving anybody that comes onto the website a free water bottle if they send us an email and tell us, you know, how they're doing during the pandemic and you know what's on their mind and how can we help. But it really is important to get engagement and get our teams and our people coming to the website to look at what we have to offer and take advantage. Can you offer some words of encouragement to our team members out there as to why it's worth heading over to wellbeing.untsystem.edu and taking a look at the program?
Oh, I love that you keep saying the web address. That's fantastic. I will tell you, I think that the best thing that it can do is, first and foremost, during this time where we are all in meetings, in virtual meetings, in answering emails, answering phone calls, take 10 minutes out of your day, go to the website and just peruse it. Just find one thing that you can do for yourself on that website, whether it's a webinar, whether it's an article to read, whether it's just information about your benefits. Find one thing you can do for yourself, because you will walk away from doing that one thing and realize how much you needed that break. Give yourself permission to take 10 minutes to go to the website, and I promise you that the payoff will be much greater than the 10 minutes that you took to go and look at that. I think that right now the best thing that we can do for ourselves, for our families, and for our coworkers is that self-care, and the Wellbeing website is there for you to help you with that self-care. So please go out, like Paul said, go out to the website, take a look at that, send us an email, post it to your social media pages, and we will send you a water bottle. And I promise we will not send it until after this is over. We will be sure to Lysol it all before we send them out, and we'll make sure that you get that, because they're really fun little green water bottles. And but it's just so important at this time that we really do take care of ourselves and we take care of each other. And the Wellbeing site is a great place to actually have some tools to help you do that. So please, everybody, go out. 10 minutes. I promise it's worth your while.
Well, and also, Barbara, as a supervisor, as you keep track of your team and monitor your team, is it appropriate to encourage your team to go take a look at what resources might be available? You know, sometimes it's hard to speak up when you're hurting, and you know, the idea, I think, of the site is to be a one-stop shop for any need you have where our HR benefits can help.
Exactly. And that, gosh, you know, that is really one of the things I've encouraged all of my team to take time out every day to go and take a look at the site, see what's out there, to also to use it as a way that they can provide that space for their employees to have that support, whether it's, you know, hey, schedule time on there. If you're a supervisor and you're worried about one of your employees, schedule a meeting with them where what you're doing with them is going out to the Wellbeing website, so that it gives them permission to do it. If their supervisor is saying, hey, let's go do this together. Let's walk through this website together. We're having all staff virtual meeting in HR, and that's one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be walking through the Wellbeing website, because even in HR, it's important that our employees know what kind of resources are available. So I'd encourage supervisors to do that. I would also encourage supervisors to send the link out to your employees. If you can't take the time to do a meeting with them where you're walking them through it, send the link out to them so that they know, hey, it's okay for me to do this.
And if a supervisor had particular questions about the program before they talk to their teams, do you have somebody on your team that would be willing to help them, best present that to their staff?
Absolutely. They can contact really anyone in benefits, but more importantly, Sarah Blackwell is our wellness coordinator, and Sarah will be able to help them actually get all of their questions answered. She'll be able to walk them through the website. She'll be able to talk about additional programming that we're going to be offering as we move forward with this, and as we find more virtual ways that we can share information. Sarah is absolutely the person that can help with that.
That's great. And on the website, there's also multiple ways to click for feedback, where an email form will pop up that gets to her and the team as well. So folks can take advantage of that. This conversation that we had and the series of podcasts that we launched a few weeks ago are designed to shine the light on good things happening and good work. And this is definitely, falls under that bill. But I've closed the conversations by asking leaders like you that I speak with, what lessons can we take with us moving forward once we get to more normal times, that we could take with us from this challenging time and learn from in the future? What do you think we can take with us, Barbara, particularly as it pertains to well-being?
I think that one of the best things that we're going to learn from this is to see our employees as whole people. Like I talked about, when we get that glimpse when we're doing these virtual meetings and these team meetings on Microsoft and Zoom and all of the other ways that you can do these kind of video meetings, and you get a glimpse into what they're dealing with every day. I think that that's going to be the absolute best thing that we can take with us, is seeing our employees as that their lives, a piece of their time is spent with us. There are other things that are happening in their world that affect them. And the best things that we can do is to ensure that we're keeping that in mind, and that we are providing resources and services that are going to help them with that. And I think that that's going to be one of the great things that comes out of this.
No, well, we appreciate everything that your team has done to adjust on the fly and get this program launched and out there. And I'll say it one more time. I think it's the fourth or fifth time that URL, wellbeing.untsystem.edu. You can also follow along on Twitter at UNT World is the Twitter handle, and on Facebook it's UNT World Wellbeing. And again, those social accounts are linked from that webpage. But I know content and opportunities to address your own wellness, whatever's appropriate for you when you look at the offerings to take advantage of, are going to be pushed out that way. Barbara, thanks so much for making time for us. This is important, and we know how crazy it's been, as we said, kind of from the X's and O's standpoint of HR, but people are what really matter, and I know you believe that. So thanks for making time for us, and thank you also to our listeners for stopping in for some good news. I'm Paul Corliss, and we'll talk to you soon. UNT World is a special place filled with talented and dedicated students, faculty, and staff that do amazing things every day. With our heart in North Texas, we transform lives and create economic opportunity through education. We are North Texas. I'm Paul Corliss. Talk to you soon.